Underwriting for Cinema KC is provided by these fine organizations.
Coming up on Cinema KC, we take you behind the camera, interviewing some of the hottest filmmakers in town. I'm Erin.
And I'm Michelle. Today we'll feature documentaries about brave souls that will touch your hearts.
And a film with some ink. Cinema KC starts now. Spain, Wales, Russia, India. These are just some of the places that Brandon Green has traveled to shoot documentaries. We're happy he's in the studio with us today. Welcome to the studio, Brandon.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Okay, one of your features that you've worked on follows a man named Shock, and it's called Shock the World. Tell us about his story and why you chose him for your documentary.
Well, I think we chose each other, actually. I met him, he was here in town on his world travel that he spent 5.5 years on the road, alone on his motorcycle. Wow. And he was passing through and gave a little presentation here, and I met him. And we got to talking after the presentation a little bit, and he asked me if I'd be interested in helping him make a film, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, people do that all the time, and you just kind of go with it. But he followed up, and we became friends. And then, you know, before you know it, I'm flying over to meet his folks and get the backstory. And he's quite a guy. He had a job maybe 10 or 15 years ago. He worked on a potato farm, of course, because he's Dutch. And he went on a holiday for 3 weeks. He shipped his bike to Australia and rode all around Australia. And he decided that wasn't enough. He was just going to do that, and that was what he was going to do, be a world traveler. So traveling and telling stories together, or that particular story, I guess, we told together. So that's kind of how it got started.
Well, great. Well, you're currently working on another feature documentary, right?
Correct.
So let's take a look at an excerpt from that film. This is Tattooed.
I'm a mercenary. Eerst you pick him and we stick him.
All of the people that giant egos that think they're so interesting have only been tattooing 5 or 6 years. They don't have a clue.
I like to think of it as maybe a folk art or a craft.
Tattooing to me is like welding. I mean, you have to like lay the lines down, and you're using tools.
A good line in a tattoo is made with confidence and with nothing else.
One of the prerequisites for a good tattoo is it has a reason to be done.
It should look like it's always been there, like part of your body, you know.
It needs to be more than a Tasmanian devil with a beer mug that says, "Let's get drunk now."
The things that attracted me to it the most was this kind of shadowy nature that it had. The people that got them were badasses, and you just put too much light on anything, and it's just not as cool as it was.
Because of all the stupid TV shows, people think that tattoos have to have some sort of meaning, so they bring this heavy meaning to their tattoos all the time, like they have to mean something when they don't.
In the old days, you learn on yourself, on your own leg, on your arm, on wherever you could reach. What you do is you get a bottle of medium, particularly like, this is like a Russian medium, close the door and tattoo yourself.
Dude, I grabbed me a wino and I just tattooed the hell out of that guy for like a week. He didn't care, I just kept him drunk.
I had no idea how to get into it. You'd ask and everybody tell you not. It made me want it all the more, I think. It was this impenetrable, mysterious thing that they did.
They always say prostitution is the oldest profession. That might be true, but she had a tattoo.
great characters. I totally want to know more about each of them. And they're very funny, too. Did you laugh while you're on set? Did you enjoy the experience of filmmaking?
I tell you, yes. Hanky Panky in Amsterdam, he is a character that's larger than life. And he's one of the guys that's been tattooing for 40, 45, 50 years. And that's the story that I'm trying to tell, ladies, on this particular film. There's so much in the mainstream about tattooing now, and it gets so commonplace. I'm going back to the old school, hopefully. That's the goal, anyway, to talk to the older characters that were tattooing when you walked in a tattoo shop and they told you what you were gonna get.
It was their decision. Did you get any tattoos along the filmmaking process?
I did, well, no, not while filming, but from the artists that are in the film, yes.
How close are you completing this film?
Hard to say. You know, because I'm trying to go back and talk to some of the older gentlemen and ladies that have been doing it for so long, unfortunately, they're hard to get to. They're not so media savvy or hip to having some guy show up with a camera and a bunch of lights.
Well,
but we're working on it.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing when it's done. So actually, right now, though, you did shoot another short documentary about some brave women, right?
That's correct.
Let's take a look at that. This is The Matter of Respect.
We have to think of the social bias that's against a prostituted woman. You know, and it's really hard for people to see us as victims. My sexual exploitation started as a child. I was running away from an abusive home environment. I ended up, to survive, having to compromise myself sexually to grown men.
I grew up in foster care. Went through physical abuse as a child, and I was always looking for love. I always seemed to find the wrong men. They become abusers, and I would stay because I was needing that love so much that I wouldn't care what they were doing to me. The last gentleman that I met, he said he loved me so much, and he came into my life and took everything away. He introduced me to drugs, and he started to control everything. And I didn't know that he was a hustler, didn't know he was a pimp, and he started controlling me with the drugs, and so I ended up going into porn on the internet. So he broke me down with the verbal abuse, physical abuse, and I got tired of it. He beat me up so bad that I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks.
I graduated high school, barely. The family that I was living with at the time, a friend of our family's, I remember for graduation, she bought me a set of luggage. I was like, is this a hit? She goes, well, you're 18, it's time to go. But I had nowhere, and I had no skills, really.
Throughout history, this issue of prostitution has been so misunderstood by the norms of society, and people don't think about the issue of the men who purchase.
Who purchases? You know what I'm saying? They're the leaders of your churches, or they're the leaders of your government, or they're these women's nice husbands who have big corporate jobs, and then they come in and they buy these women. The cops just, no.
The decriminalization of the women is the first step. We're doing everything backwards.
No girl, whether it's a strip club, a Backpage ad, call girls, massage parlors, phone sex, porn, nobody wants to do that. In order for me to break the cycle, I really had to kind of just sit still. I had to be allowed the space, the time, whatever it took, whatever was needed in order for me to sift through some of that pain and anger and hurt that I had.
A rape victim is a victim, and they're treated as such. Women used in prostitution are victims, and they need to be given the care and treatment that they need. We have to have social programs in place and specific type of programming. You know, we have domestic violence shelters out there. We have the drug addiction part, so we have those kind of facilities for another piece. We have mental health for those that may be dealing with a mental health issue. What we don't have is survivors leading other survivors.
We need to get together, and we need to speak to each other, and we need to empower each other, and we need to raise each other up and encourage and love and hug.
I'm getting my self-esteem back. I'm empowering me. It's time for me to blossom into the woman that I know I can be without drugs, without sex, without a man to make me feel needed and wanted.
There will always be prostitution. Can we assist in lowering the use of women and girls? Yes, we can. Can we educate? Can we shift this bias against the women in prostitution to the men who buy? Can we do the things and put things in place to help assist women so they never have to compromise themselves sexually to survive? Can we as a people become better people? Absolutely we can.
I have mad respect for myself. When I started. When I very first started. I knew who I was when I went in there. I had no idea who I was when I came out. You mean, what do I say to my mom?
Yes.
I don't know that answer. Everybody wanted me to put an exclamation mark, like, yeah, respect. And I was like, well, no, I don't think so. I think respect is something that you should question. I think it's something that you should question whether or not people respect you, or you respect other people, or whether or not you even respect yourself.
Such a heartbreaking yet hopeful story. We're delighted to have the producer of The Matter of Respect with us here in the studio. Welcome, Vicki Rocco.
Thank you.
Now, I imagine it'd be difficult to find subjects that would come forward for a documentary, especially in this case. Was that a challenge to find women that would come forward and talk?
Not as much as you might think. We worked with Veronica's Voice, and through them we're able to reach these survivors that wanted to tell their story. They wanted the story to be out there, and of course, for Veronica's Voice, it was a great vehicle for them to be able to use moving forward to help get their message out.
Mm-hmm. Now, Brandon, I know you've talked to a lot of documentary subjects, but had you done such a personal story like this before?
It's interesting. I think people can be personal and passionate about what they do, but this one was different for me because it was more about almost what had been done to them. It was the way their life turned out, and it was super personal and cut very deep. And you know, I was honored to be able to talk to these survivors. I really did. I got chills sitting in the chair just hearing their responses to my questions.
Yeah, it was very powerful. Wonderful. Thank you both so much for being in the studio with us here today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sergio Acosta has been a part of the Kansas City filmmaking scene for many years. He's worked as a producer, entrepreneur, director, so many things. We're glad to have him here in the studio with us today. Welcome, Sergio.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you worked on films outside of Kansas City and here.
Right.
What's the difference between the two?
Usually when obviously the living it's...
You live in Kansas City.
Yeah, I live in Kansas City, so when I shoot, I've lived a few months in LA or Vegas, and it's interesting to kind of be a part of that community for at least a little period of time. KC's just home, so it seems less like work when I'm shooting in KC because I'm with my friends and
just having fun making films.
Exactly.
So you've done such a wide array of different kinds of things. What's one of your favorite experiences?
Definitely going to the Cannes Film Festival in France.
Wow.
We've premiered 3 films there, and I was there in 2007, which was probably the best time. I was there for like 2 weeks, and just people to get to meet. The film community is extra small there, and it's kind of the echelon of the film community. And so, I got to meet Harvey Weinstein and Conference of Dubai, and other celebrities and stuff, just kind of in passing. And it's a real fun experience to be able to be a part of that.
What's next for you?
I'm currently working on a documentary about Kansas City and Vegas and a Kansas City Star journalist that kind of broke that story, and I've been working on that for a couple years, so I'm kind of winding that down and trying to work more on television development, try to get the brand of Kansas City out there as well as I can.
It's a great place to live and make films.
It is, and I've worked a lot with a lot of musicians in Kansas City, and so that's a lot of fun for me to do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. We look forward to seeing what comes up next for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Two recent high school graduates in Kansas City are working on an eye-opening documentary. We're glad to have them join us in the studio today. Grace Powell and Jenny Phillips, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, you guys caught the filmmaking bug while at Blue Valley North. What attracted you to telling stories through film?
I think mostly our teacher, Mr. Hewitt. He's really a great inspiration for us and kind of, I guess, inspired us to tell stories.
And the both of you work together on films?
Yeah.
Great.
That's great. Well, let's take a look at trans identity.
Everyone has something about their body that they're not comfortable with. Something they don't like about themselves. For a lot of people, it's their weight or their height. But for us, it's something past that has a much bigger effect in our daily lives and that changes the way people see us. I'm Michael Galvin, but most of you know me as Mickey. I've been living more like a guy since elementary school.
My name is Sarah Beth Barnett. Most of you know me as Sarah Beth. I go by SB, but I prefer Isaac now. As Mickey said, I as well grew up with being a tomboy. Actually, what's kind of funny is that we grew up together. Michael and I are both in the process of coming out as transgendered female to male, also known as FTM. He started on T, which is testosterone. I haven't yet because I have to get maturity of my anger. But then I'm going to change my name legally before I turn 18. But he has to wait till he's 18 because his other parent won't sign off on it. Generally, getting T, you have to go to a gender therapist who will give you the diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Actually, I'm waiting on my test results, and then we'll go from there with the name change in T.
Well, it's one of those things that's a rising issue, but it's still not very common, and there are a lot of misconceptions about it. Like that if we go in the bathroom, we're going to peep at people. We go to the bathroom for the same reason anyone else does. I generally tend to just fly under the radar and try not to get noticed by anyone. Sometimes people I have classes with will try to correct people when they call me a he.
People, I think, judge us, but I think they judge us because they don't understand what we're going through.
With my mom, I just told her. She didn't really understand what it meant at first, and she kept thinking that I was saying that I was a lesbian. She didn't understand that there's a difference between your gender and your sexuality.
I have two moms who are lesbians. I also have a cousin who is gay. My family is really, really understanding of it. They are trying really hard with the pronouns and my name, but other than that, I mean, that's really all I could ask for from my family, is that they actually understand and they're trying.
I know on my mom's side, everyone's really nice and really accepting, but my dad's side, no one really understands. They're very religious on my dad's side, and they believe that if God created me with female parts, that I should be a girl. Unless you want to date me, what does it matter what I have and don't have? I'm not a girl, so I can't be a girl. I've seen how nice people at our school can be, but I've also seen them be not so nice.
I think North is giving us the opportunity to adapt to this process early, so that by the time we get out into the real world, we're already ready for the harassment, the bullying, the being put down. There are some kids at school that are referring to me as a he because I approached them as a he. I didn't really know what to say to that except for thanks, because I didn't really take that as an insult. I took that more as a compliment because that showed me that I actually pass. If I can't accept myself, nobody's going to be able to accept me. I feel like I'm just another guy in the world.
Such a great, brave film. One of your characters said, I generally try to fly under the radar. How did you get them to open up to you for a film that's going to be shared with many people?
Well, actually, it's interesting in that the student came up to me and actually asked me and Grace to do the documentary because they felt like both of them were sort of getting bullied because most of the school didn't really understand what they were going through. So they felt like if we made the documentary, we could educate the students at Blue Valley North High School what they're going through, so maybe people can give them a break because they do go through a lot of bullying. I think it's important that we educated the students. I think that they received it well.
What did you learn from filming this? I mean, did you also kind of see, I want to do this for a living?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Getting an opportunity to actually tell a story of like real students in our school was really special and really fortunate for, I guess, them to come up to us and trust us with their story.
So what's next for you?
Well, I'm going to be studying film at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm really hoping that I could make another piece that could change people's minds or make someone's life a little bit better. That's my goal.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the show, and thank you for watching Cinema Casey.
We'll see you next time.
Underwriting for Cinema KC is provided by these fine organizations. T2 Studios, digital storytellers with a passion for cinema. The Fine Arts Theater Group, featuring world-class movies and the Kansas International Film Festival. Chez El Creperie and Coffee House, serving fresh crepes and robust coffees. Dickinson Theaters, KC owned and operated, 93 years of movie-going excellence. Buttonwood Financial Group, your Kansas City family CFO. B&B Theaters, bringing Hollywood to your hometown since 1924. Boulevard Drive-In Theater, the world's first 4K digital drive-in theater. Screenland Theaters, more than movies, it's a night at the show. And by
Outpost Worldwide, at home in Kansas City. Production, post, content.